Once upon a time, Devadatta was a sage. Shakyamuni Buddha at that time was a king. So Shakyamuni Buddha at that time very much wanted to hear the Mahayana Buddha Dharma, to seek the final wisdom, perfect wisdom, but no one would teach him. He later took the sage as his teacher, then served the sage, working like an ox and horse for the sage. When the sage ascended his seat, he stepped on his back. He would lie prostrate there, then served him in every possible way. Just because this sage told him, "If you serve me, I will teach you the Lotus Sutra." So Shakyamuni Buddha, in the past, to hear the Lotus Sutra, did these things for thousands of years. So now we've heard the Lotus Sutra, we've probably lived thousands of years, gone through hardships. Otherwise we wouldn't have heard the Lotus Sutra. In this anecdote, the Buddha mentioned that he called Devadatta, this Devadatta who harmed him, a spiritual friend. He said, "Without Devadatta, I couldn't hear the Lotus Sutra. I couldn't become Buddha, because this understanding is too important. Because without this, the understanding that we are originally Buddhas, all Bodhisattvas cannot break through all marks. Sentient beings cannot be exhaustively liberated. If sentient beings are not originally Buddhas, how can you exhaustively liberate them? So this cannot perfectly accomplish the Buddha path." So he called Devadatta a spiritual friend, then gave Devadatta a prediction. This is one climax within the prediction chapters. One is Devadatta, and another is the dragon girl becoming Buddha. Because the dragon girl, first, she's female. Second, she's from the dragon realm. Because among Shravaka vehicle disciples, among Hinayana disciples, first, women cannot become Buddhas. Women, because of their channels or karma, they thought women cannot become Buddhas. Also, dragon beings, although belonging to the heavenly dragon level, their habitual tendencies and desires are extremely heavy. The dragon's habitual tendencies and desires, they cannot break through this view of body. Dragon beings are very difficult. Their habitual tendencies and desires are close to the animal realm, though their wisdom is far higher than the animal realm. But as for the dragon girl, because she heard the highest doctrine of the Lotus Sutra, she instantly renounced her dragon body, renounced the view of body. Her body was only 8 years old. Then she considered this an illusory realm. Then she brought forth her wish-fulfilling pearl dragons. Have a wish-fulfilling pearl, spit it out, then made an offering to Shakyamuni Buddha. Actually, that was merely an outward manifestation, just renouncing the view of body. Renouncing the view of body is like us sentient beings now, renouncing our various desires and habits. You make up your mind to achieve true fruition. All habitual tendencies and desires, habitual tendencies hiding in the path. All let go. You're no longer playing around. This is the dragon girl at 8 years old, then realizing the path and becoming Buddha. So these two, the dragon girl becoming Buddha and Devadatta becoming Buddha, are climaxes within the entire predictions. These are things people never expected, that these two could also become Buddha. You know, one committed a grave offense against his benefactor, drew the Buddha's blood from harming him. One is both female and from the animal realm, yet could become Buddha. Later, in the final chapter of the Lotus Sutra, there's a wonderful adornment. There's something in the wonderful adornment King Past Deeds chapter. There's also a non-Buddhist, this wonderful adornment, who initially studied other sects, other schools, not the same school as the Buddha Dharma, but in the end also became Buddha through hearing the Lotus Sutra. This is within one story. But throughout the predictions, you just see the Buddha giving predictions section by section by section. In the end, you will hear that all who heard the Lotus Sutra, all sentient beings can become Buddha. Then the Buddha said, "This is a small child who scooped up a handful of sand on the ground to make an offering to the Buddha. He has already entered the Buddha path. Unintentionally, he has already entered the Buddha path." This is Buddha affinity. Some things, everything arises from causes and conditions. That is to say, it's not that only you, arhats and bodhisattvas, you cultivators have Buddha affinity. Even a small child, all these are on the Buddha path. These people, as long as they hear the Lotus Sutra, can all achieve accomplishment. For all who heard even a single word or phrase of the Lotus Sutra, predictions were given guaranteeing you will become Buddha. So the status of the Lotus Sutra is this important. Sentient beings, original affinity, our original nature is Buddha. This definition is extremely important. Every one of us doesn't know. If the Buddha doesn't tell us, through lifetime after lifetime of rebirth, not one of us knows. Even if this lifetime we live well, that lifetime we don't live well, or we're forever spinning in space-time. We forever want liberation, want to become Buddha, want to transform into a Buddha. We forever think we are sentient beings. You don't know. Only when the Buddha appears in the world does he tell you. You don't know where your original affinity is. We can never find it. Because we grasp the mark of self, grasp the mark of space-time. Then when everyone looks at the Lotus Sutra, actually the deepest impression after reading is the predictions, because the Buddha continuously gives predictions to people. You say predictions are said too much, just give them all at once. But he still continuously, chapter by chapter, sometimes giving to bhikshus, sometimes to bhikshunis, sometimes to Devadatta, sometimes to the dragon girl, and so on, sometimes to this one and that one. He continuously says, sentient beings continuously rejoice. Continuously rejoice. Why can all people become Buddha? Why does he give predictions like this? Because our original nature is Tathagata. The Lotus Sutra, in its recording, in the entire assembly recording. After these predictions, we then see it begins using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chapters, about 6 or 7 chapters of exposition, continuously telling everyone, because the Buddha said recording the Buddha's words, telling everyone the merit of upholding, reading, reciting, and practicing the Lotus Sutra is immeasurable and boundless. Moreover, this sutra, the merit of truly practicing the Lotus Sutra, is immeasurable and boundless. Moreover, the importance of this sutra is repeatedly, continuously stated. Immeasurable and boundless, more than building stupas and making offerings of everything you have, more than all the giving you do, none can compare. Even if you don't practice it yourself, you rejoice. When others are studying the Lotus Sutra, teaching the Lotus Sutra, if you rejoicing in this definition, you can already merit is immeasurable. The Buddha there also explained in detail. Your ears can attain 1,200, your eyes 800. The 6 sense organs, that is to say, because you personally heard the Lotus Sutra, then truly believed in the Lotus Sutra, then practiced according to the Lotus Sutra, then your 6 sense organs, even if you haven't evolved, you use your flesh eyes, your heavenly eye hasn't opened. Using the flesh eyes received from your parents, you can have the realm of the heavenly eye. The merit of the Lotus Sutra, that is the merit of reading, reciting, upholding, and transcribing the Lotus Sutra. So in the middle, for a very long period, many chapters are writing about this merit. Within this merit, the Buddha especially emphasizes, if you propagate the Lotus Sutra, if you teach it, what do you need to pay attention to? That is the chapter on peaceful practices. There's a chapter, the 14th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, chapter on peaceful practices. It tells you, if you want to propagate the Lotus Sutra, how should you teach the Dharma so there are no obstacles? How to do it? How to be a Bodhisattva? How to teach the Lotus Sutra so that you can teach and explain the Dharma without obstacles. Within it are peaceful practices of body, speech, and mind. That is to say, if you do your body, speech, and mind this way, you will have no obstacles. This is called peaceful practices. Very peacefully cultivating, propagating the Dharma. This is what the 14th chapter teaches. Also, the Buddha mentioned that to teach the Lotus Sutra, you must enter the Tathagata's room, wear the Tathagata's robe, sit on the Tathagata's seat. Only then can you begin to teach the Lotus Sutra.
What does entering the Tathagata's room mean? Entering the Tathagata's room means giving rise to the mind of great compassion and great loving kindness, the great vow to universally liberate sentient beings.
This is called entering the Tathagata's room. You've entered the Tathagata's family. Wearing the Tathagata's robe is the Dharma robe. So what is the Dharma robe? Using a gentle, patient mind is the Dharma robe. The Dharma robe is your gentle, patient mind. Sitting on the Tathagata's Dharma seat means awakening to emptiness, awakening to original nature, self-nature, emptiness. Our Tathagata is also called emptiness, also called the way, also called mind, also called self-nature, any of these works. That is to say, the more you awaken to this original nature, you are sitting on the Tathagata's seat. This is about teaching scriptures. If you teach this sutra after seeing so much merit, you think I'll also go teach, then you need to accomplish these things. Also, you need to practice the chapter on peaceful practices. The 14th chapter will tell you the Bodhisattva's instructions are listed one by one. How your body, speech, and mind should act. How your body should act. How you should speak. How your body, speech, and mind should act. This is all stated in the entire scripture. After the Buddha finished giving predictions, then told everyone that studying the Lotus Sutra has great merit. After saying all these things in this record, the Tathagata then, within it, manifested various supernatural transformations. At the Lotus Assembly, the most interesting thing was that the Tathagata abundant treasures emerged from the earth. This Tathagata abundant treasures was a Tathagata who had already entered nirvana in the very distant past. So this Tathagata, when he entered nirvana, made a vow saying, if I enter nirvana in the future, my stupa with my relics, my whole body relic stupa like our 6th patriarch, he had whole body relics. That physical body wasn't cremated. He said, if someday I enter nirvana, as long as anywhere in the 10 directions above and below of the Dharma realm, no matter where the Lotus Sutra is taught, I will rely on my spiritual powers and vow power to emerge from the earth, to bear witness for this Tathagata that the Lotus Sutra is true. Because this Tathagata proclaimed the highest truths of the universe, our original source is Buddha, so he wants to come bear witness. He emerges from the earth. I bear witness for him. His words are true and not false. Because he's already died, pass through great kalpas. As long as you teach the Lotus Sutra, I'll emerge from the earth. This Tathāgata abundant treasures now Shakyamuni Buddha is teaching the Lotus Sutra. So he emerged from the earth, then suspended in the air. His stupa is very dignified. Then he sits inside the stupa, inside saying, "Ah, excellent, Shakyamuni Buddha, you're teaching the Lotus Sutra and I've come to listen. You now, to Hinayana disciples who may not understand, you still use equal great wisdom. You use this great dharma of teaching bodhisattvas, that is to say equal wisdom, the dharma of teaching bodhisattvas, to universally proclaim it for all sentient beings to hear. Excellent, excellent, that is to say, merit is immeasurable. Saying, I now come to certify for you all that what Shakyamuni Buddha says is true and not false. This is the Tathāgata abundant treasures." Everyone seeing this would be very amazed, feeling it inconceivable, the supernatural transformation realm of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, using their spiritual powers and vow power. Later in this story, those disciples said to the Buddha, "Could you open that stupa of Tathāgata abundant treasures and let us see the body of Tathāgata abundant treasures? I think this is human nature. If we saw it, we would too." Then the Buddha said, "The Tathāgata abundant treasures has a very profound great vow." That is a very profound person. He has a very profound great vow. If someday I manifest before a Buddha who is teaching the Lotus Sutra, and if his disciples want me to manifest my body, to open the stupa and manifest it, then it's necessary for this Buddha teaching the Lotus Sutra to gather all his emanation Buddhas throughout the entire Dharma realm to one place. Why would the Tathāgata abundant treasures make this vow? Do you know what the Buddha's emanation Buddhas are? The scriptures don't explain what they are, only saying, "The Buddha to fulfill your wishes, I'll gather back my emanation Buddhas." Do you know how many of these emanation Buddhas are? Boundlessly innumerable, gathering from the 10 directions above and below. Then the Saha world can't hold them all. Shakyamuni Buddha, outside the Saha world, on the outer perimeter, through supernatural transformation created many, many more lands, then to place his emanation Buddhas. When his emanation Buddhas came, this Saha world began to become entirely very pure, beginning to manifest the realm of the Pure Land. Do you know where we were sent? Except for those sentient beings left at the Lotus Assembly, the rest of the sentient beings were unknowingly moved to other Buddha lands. So whether we were transferred to other Buddha lands at that time, we don't know. But the Buddha said it like this, because he needed to place the emanation Buddhas. Then this Saha world became incomparably vast and very pure. Then those emanation Buddhas under each Bodhi tree, a Dharma seat. These trees one next to another, filling the Saha world, still couldn't hold all his emanations. One direction couldn't hold them. That is to say, in all 10 directions there were his emanation Buddhas. Then he created many, many lands. These lands were also very pure. Then also moved the sentient beings of other realms from these newly created Buddha lands to other lands. Where did these emanation Buddhas come from? Everyone doesn't know. When listening to the Lotus Sutra, each one of you is an emanation Buddha. Because however many sentient beings there are that many emanation Buddhas. Each one of you can be an emanation Buddha. All emanations of Shakyamuni Buddha. The Tathāgata has as many as there are sentient beings, boundlessly innumerable in the 4 directions above and below. So when his emanation Buddhas gathered back, we now have many scattered thoughts. East and west, every thought is one Tathāgata. In your one thought there are kalpas. Because you are the Dharma realm. Your thoughts encompass the Dharma realm. There are that many, many Dharma realms. Your thoughts are unimaginably numerous. The information of the entire Dharma realm is stored in your consciousness, stored here in you. The entire Dharma realm, your consciousness from lifetime after lifetime of the entire Dharma realm is all here. So if you want to see a Nirvana Buddha, now everyone wants to see a Nirvana Buddha, so you are all Tathāgatas. Your original source is Tathāgata. When you see Tathāgata abundant treasures, you want to see a Nirvana Buddha. You're seeing your own original nature. What we want to see is to see our own mind. You need to become Buddha. Then gather back your scattered thoughts. Then you can see your own mind. Only then can you truly see the Nirvana Buddha. Otherwise, what you see is also just a Buddha statue.